Today I'm going to tell you the difference between being a fluent salesperson and being a fluent English speaker. The biggest mistake that I've seen over time is that international closers usually believe they need to sound like native speakers to succeed in sales. But the truth is that some of the highest earning international closers actually have thick accents and imperfect grammar, and yet they consistently outperform native speakers. The key concept that I want you to keep in mind here is that they understand the critical difference between being a fluent speaker and being a fluent salesperson. High-ticket sales is not a grammar contest. Obsessing over perfect grammar actually leads to closing less deals because it creates a cognitive load. So the problem with this obsession with grammar is that your brain is too busy monitoring your language to be fully present with the prospects. Prospects don't actually buy from the person with flawless sentence structure. They actually buy from the person who makes them feel understood and connects with their problem. I want you to think of the following scenario. Picture Carlos, a closer from Mexico. In this case, he's got broken English and terrible grammar. But because of this, he was actually forced to listen with intention and ask simple questions and repeat back what he heard to ensure his understanding. The result was that he outperformed closers with perfect English because he was focused on his prospect's emotional state and not on conjugating verbs. Worrying about mistakes makes you sound robotic, disconnected, and nervous. And this nervousness actually transfers to the prospect, which can destroy all the trust that you're building. Remember that simple, clear communication builds connection, while complicated language actually builds walls. Now I'm going to try to lay out the reasons why sometimes broken English closers actually outperform native speakers. So the truth is that sometimes international closers with imperfect English and thick accents actually make more money than some native speakers, and this is because language barriers can actually create unexpected advantages. So the first advantage is that this imperfection actually makes them listen more carefully, because they just have to. They focus intensely on every word and catch subtle hesitations and concerns that native speakers, who are often on autopilot, sometimes they miss. The second advantage is that they are more direct and clear. And the reason behind this is because they lack confidence in complex language, so they get straight to the point with simple, powerful phrases that are impossible to misunderstand. Another advantage is your accent itself. When owned confidently, an accent makes you memorable and authentic, and also demonstrates that you are a real person and not a sleazy salesman. Another interesting advantage is that they might actually have better emotional intelligence. Since they are unable to rely solely on words, they become experts at reading nonverbal cues like tone of voice and body language. Having a thicker accent actually makes them focus on substance over style, and the reason is very straightforward. They can impress with vocabulary, so they are forced to impress with their deep understanding of the prospect's problems and their ability to provide solutions. Now I'm going to try to explain the core differences between a fluent speaker and a fluent salesperson. A fluent speaker has perfect grammar, extensive vocabulary, they can discuss complex topics, and they sound impressive. On the other hand, a fluent salesperson uses strategic questioning, emotional calibration, and decision-making guidance. They use simple and direct language to create clarity and urgency. And their defining feature is that they are influential and persuasive. And this is where you want to position yourself. Now, the reason why fluent speakers often struggle in sales is because they overthink language and they get caught up in constructing the perfect sentence, so that actually makes them miss emotional cues and sound like a presentation instead of a genuine conversation. Sales success comes from mastering sales-specific communication skills and not general English proficiency. You need to sound like a problem solver and not like a college professor. Now I'm going to give you a list of 5 communication skills that will actually help you become a fluent salesperson. These 5 skills are what truly matter, and none of them require perfect grammar. The first one is strategic questioning. So you need to come up with a systematic approach to uncover pain points and buy motives so that you can move freely from open-ended discovery to deep dive follow-ups and questions about the desired outcomes. The second skill that I want you to be actively working on is your emotional calibration. And this is your ability to read the prospect's emotions, like their frustration, their excitement, or their skepticism, through their tone and their pace, and then adjust your own communication style to match their state. The next skill is your objection reframing. Now, this refers to your ability to turn your prospect's concern into buying opportunities by understanding that objections often reveal buying criteria and not rejection. Another important skill that you need to develop is your urgency creation. So this comes down to using business logic and opportunity cost to help prospects understand the cost of delaying their decision without being pushy. And then finally, you have your decision guidance skill. This will help you lead prospects confidently through their buying process with clear recommendations and step-by-step instructions. What I want you to keep in mind is that real sales confidence comes from having a systematic approach and knowing what to do in any situation, and not from having perfect English. Now I'm going to give you a 4-component framework that will actually help you achieve this. The first one is your competence-based confidence. So the idea here is that your confidence is actually built on your proven sales skills, that is your ability to help, and not your language skills. The second one is your preparation protocols. This refers to having a clear framework and multiple ways to phrase key points in every part of the conversation, which eliminates anxiety. The next one is recovery strategies. So these are just simple techniques like using phrases like "let me rephrase that" to recover from stumbles without panicking or losing momentum. And then the last one is authenticity anchors. So this actually explains the idea of owning your background and using your accent and international experience as a unique selling proposition and a point of connection. Now remember that success metrics are also an extremely important component on this framework. Keeping track of your sales outcomes, like the amount of appointments that you set or the amount of deals that you close, instead of linguistic perfection, to build confidence based on real results. Top performers usually make an active effort about learning sales-specific vocabulary over general English, which can directly impact buying decisions during conversations. They also pay way more attention to their confident delivery over their perfect pronunciation, so they own their unique voice and use it to project authority and expertise. So the core idea here is that you need to adapt your sales approach to leverage your existing English skills rather than trying to change your English to fit a preconceived notion of sales. Then you need to redefine your success metrics and shift your focus from linguistic perfection to sales outcomes, like the amount of appointments you set and the deals you close. The next step here would be for you to develop your unique value proposition and frame your international background and accent as a strength and a point of differentiation. And then you should also be building your own list of phrases and keywords and expressions to build a collection of simple, proven phrases for every stage of the sale. One of the most important parts of this process is for you to use role-playing sessions to build sales confidence and improve your English naturally at the same time. And then finally, when you check for feedback, I want you to measure your progress based on the prospect's engagement and the results that you get, and not from the grammar that you use. Remember that your English doesn't need to be perfect to be powerful. It needs to be purposeful, authentic, and focused on solving the prospect's problems. The truth is that the remote sales industry is booming right now, and the success is available to those who focus on what truly matters. Now, on your next call, I want you to stop worrying about your grammar and focus entirely on connecting with your prospects' pain points. Remember that your authenticity is your greatest asset.